You may have missed it due to all the news that has been circulating, but the State of Origin is back. Well, in a small way. It was 1999, the last time the best players in the country played in it, and besides the Hall of Fame match in 2008 and the bushfire relief game held in early 2020, we haven't seen anything like it again. But the VFL will play the SANFL on April 6th in a little side match during Gather Round. It was put on the agenda late last year and will be played at Glenelg Stadium. The side will be made up of the best players from each league, but keep in note that the VFL has New South Wales and Queensland teams in it as well, so it won't even be a pure VFL team. It's the first representative game played between the VFL and SANFL since 2016.
Tread right front spot. Well done, Silvani. Very well done. And that's it. There is no more.
There are a few reasons why the State of Origin matches ended. It is true that the clubs didn't really want their stars playing in them, but the reality is the people watching dropped off. There really wasn't that much interest in the end. When Victoria played South Australia in 1999, the last State of Origin game, just 26,063 people attended the MCG. 4 years earlier saw the same match at the MCG tick over 64,000 people, and in its peak in 1989, 91,960 people were at the MCG watching Victoria versus South Australia. A couple games in South Australia at the old football park saw 40,000 people attend, but most of the matchups between any of the states had pretty average crowds. I feel like when we think of the games, we imagine packed out stadiums and big fanfare for each state, but the numbers don't really support that. The AFL itself is a big reason why it ended. There was no longer the VFL, WAFL or SANFL as the three equal top tiers. I know the VFL was seen as the best, but with no nationwide league, it did mean each state could be considered the highest level of competition. It meant state pride, not club pride, was still relatively high in the late 80s and early 90s, giving interest in the games. But as the crowd attendance shows, by the mid-90s, the individual clubs got priority support over the state, which does make sense. Football itself became so large and spread that there really wasn't any room for a State of Origin. Whereas the NRL is so big just in Queensland and New South Wales, then a natural rivalry is perfectly set up. And creating the space on the AFL calendar to play a full carnival is near impossible. Getting everyone in the same place or flying them back and forth over a week to play every opposition state isn't worth it from a financial perspective. In today's system, it would interfere with the pre-season too much and would make no sense in the off-season. So we'll never see the carnival format that used to be run in the earliest State of Origins. So how could we bring it back and make it feel important? The two recent examples have shown there is an audience. The AFL Hall of Fame match was held in May 2008 at the MCG with 69,294 people at the game, a very solid crowd. The 2020 bushfire relief game was a massive success, held just before the season started. It was played on the 28th of February at Marvel Stadium in front of a sold-out crowd. The games were relatively competitive with lots of goals, but not too extreme like we see in the NBA All-Star game. So the first step would be to do a State of Origin type game every few years. Damien Hardwick, who coached Victoria in 2020, had this to say post-game. Asked if he thought the concept had a future, Hardwick replied, "I think the timing of it is right. I don't think it's an annual event, but maybe every third year might be something to look at. I think the guys are starting to understand the value of the jumper. I used to run home from school to watch the games in WA, and I think the players have a real need and a real want for it." The more you do these types of games, the less special and impactful they feel, so every few years sounds great. And adding meaning to it would make it more worthwhile. Giving a purpose for people to come out and watch is why the event in 2020 was so successful. Raising money for the bushfire relief and to honour the services who battled the fires gained people's attention. The AFL and AFLPA donated $2.5 million to the cause, and the match overall gave an opportunity for people to donate and raise awareness. This also provides motivation to the players to give effort. They don't have to go flat out, but at least put on a good show for the cause they are playing for. Playing it in the pre-season is the most logical time period, and selecting a maximum of 3 or 4 players from each club makes sense and gets great representation from all the AFL teams. Other little logistical things is to make the quarters 20 minutes flat with no added time, and having unlimited interchange with large benches of players to give them more of a chance to feature and not overwork too many players. It would be a quick, skillful game that is fun. Giving it a set date every few years could also create a record book for it. The best on ground medal could be given a historical figure's name, as well as the cup the winning team gets. It adds a bit more honour to the game and time to build history around it. Victoria is a bookend for one team, and I think All Stars is a pretty good name for the opposition made up from the other states. Clearly, it won't be as serious as the old state versus state, but it's the only way it would work. It seems most of the players enjoyed the bushfire relief game and would be willing to do it again. But it seems something like this is far from the AFL's mind right now. The idea of an Indigenous All-Stars game was brought up back in 2022 and has been teased but never fully fleshed out. Maybe next year we might see something like this. I suppose it's not the right time for the AFL to bring some form of state of origin back. The class action against the league is a huge case, while Tasmania is getting shakier by the day. These are both critical issues that take priority over everything else. But the competition itself is in great condition, as you can make a case for a majority of the teams to feature in finals. The further time has gone on from the state games, the less people seem to care. It's one of those nice ideas on paper, but fleshing it out and being fully invested, even as a fan, is another thing. Then dealing with the clubs would probably be a battle in itself. Even if a superstar rolled an ankle, it would cause that club to feel disadvantaged. And when the competition is as close as it is, these little things matter. I do hope it can make a comeback semi-regularly and for a good cause. Everyone wants to see the best against the best, which a Victoria versus All Stars game would. But there is a fine line between making it exciting and overdoing it, making it feel irrelevant.